right. Ooh, it's far away. I hope I can read stuff. Hey guys, happy Tuesday. We're back. It's the TED Show, episode 221. Let us know you can hear us or see us. Give us a thumbs up. I know it's an interesting time in the afternoon, but I've got some great people here. I see people popping on, so give us a thumbs up. Joe Toma, I think I can read that far. Joe, we're further away from the camera than I'm used to, so I'm trying very hard to read what's going on over there. But Joe Toma's on. This is Lank, the king, next to me, and Ray Ramos next to him. Hey, Gert, what's up, love? Give us a thumbs up or some hearts and let us know you guys can hear us and see us. I feel like I'm a little further away than normal, so hopefully you can hear us. So you'll probably have to project a little bit because normally the camera is closer, but I'm sure that they can hear us. We got a thumbs up. Thank you for that. All right, so Ray and I actually got to know each other first on Facebook, and then as we're progressively talking, he started to talk about what he's doing in boxing. So I don't know which one of you wants to start, but I guess I'll start to my left. We'll start with Lank first. So Lank the King, that's your name, that's your boxing name, right? That's your promoter name. Correct. All right. So give us a little background on you, where you're from, and then maybe your why, how you got in, and your story is great. Your bio is fantastic, but share with them a little bit about that.
My name is Langston Hampton Jr. I go by the name of Lank the King, boxing promoter. I'm actually the youngest boxing promoter in the world. I'm 33 years old, from Memphis, Tennessee, born and raised. Yeah. So I got into boxing like 12 years ago. I came up under the living legend icon, Mr. Don King, and I learned a lot of my business techniques and skills from Mr. King. So over the course of the 10 to 12 years that I was with him, I decided to branch out in the year 2016, and I did my first boxing show in Ocala, Florida.
Why Ocala? That's interesting.
The thing about Ocala, it's been like 15 years since they had a boxing fight. And I met with a couple of local fighters, and we all decided to put together a show in which that was my first show, and the show sold out. So that what really got the spark of going for me to get inside of the sport of boxing.
But you have a background on this, so talk about boxing was important to you, because the theme here, we've got a show title that boxing and its economic impact.
Yes.
So you've got a story about how it impacted your life. Talk about that.
Well, the thing about it, you know, I've never been to jail, never been a juvenile. I don't smoke, I don't drink. So for me, I always kind of stayed out of trouble. Grew up in a single parent home with my mother. So I was always in tune into sports as a boxing fan, a wrestling fan, and a basketball fan. But the thing about boxing, like I said, it was something that kind of grew up on me. And, it, you know, as the years went by, when I learned, you know, by being around the great Don King, I seen how he done business inside the ring and outside the ring, and I took a liking to that. Because me, I'm a people person. So I love to interact with people, I love to talk to people, I love to do business. So when I got into the sport of boxing, pretty much everything run hand in hand. So for me, it was just a comfort zone. So like I said, I've been doing this for like the last 3 years, and I'm excited.
Well, tell me about but you talk about the economic impact. So and we're going to get to you, Ray, I promise. So you talk about the economic impact. What is it about boxing that you think, how does that impact kids? How does that make a difference in their lives?
The thing about boxing is it's a comeback sport, and when it comes to kids, like, you know, growing up, some kids will have bullies and some kids have peer pressure. But the thing about boxing, from what I learned, is that it keeps kids healthy. That's the number one thing. Keep kids healthy, keep them out of trouble. It teaches them self-defense and offensive skills to where if they did come across a bully, they know how to defend themselves, in which that's something that I really don't attest to. But, you know, nowadays we live in a challenging world. But to have kids to have that type of sport behind them and something they can get out of school and go to the gym and learn and adapt to it, I think that that's a great thing, because like I said, to keep kids out of trouble, it's fun, it's energetic, and anybody can do it.
So, all right. So Ray, we'll talk a little bit about, give us a little background on you, because obviously I want to find out how you guys finally met and started down this journey. But tell us a little bit about you, Ray.
Oh, by the way, my background is entrepreneurship. I've been an entrepreneur for about over 20 years. Also an ex-banker. I worked for FDIC for a little bit, came into Florida. If you guys in Orlando remember the first FA, I worked for them for a little bit, and decided to go on my own, and finally sold the mortgage company to Free Finance many years ago. How me and Lank met was through a common friend named Travis Cloud, who is also a light heavyweight champion at one time. And we kind of met, we talked about boxing, talked about the entrepreneurship part of it, helping kids, and that's one of my main effects. I want to help kids. I come from the South Bronx. I was born and raised in a very tough neighborhood. So every time I went out to step outside, I had to know that I had to have my hands up and be able to protect myself at all times. And I see here that we live in a different world. A lot of abuse, a lot of bullying, and kids do need some type of encouragement. And that's we need that here in Central Florida, and that's how me and Mr. Lank King got together, talked about it. Travis Cloud, and we just hit it off and started talking. And
so why boxing though? So you guys are both obviously into sports, but what is it about boxing that you think will help the kids? Obviously the bullying you talked about, but which Lank told us his story. But what about you? So you have the South Bronx. So you're automatically trained in that. Yes. Back in the day. Although all of that area up there is getting, well, I don't know about South Bronx. Brooklyn has certainly changed a lot. Yes. Williamsburg and Park Slope and all of that. But what is it that, what is it, why is it so important for you to work with kids?
Because as growing up, and I have a cousin at PAL in New York, as we call, I have a cousin named Alex Ramos, who was a Bronx Bomber. We called him the Bronx Bomber.
The Bronx Bomber?
Yes, he fought, won the Golden Gloves. He also was a good friend of the latest Hector Camacho, who was a friend of ours also, who passed a couple of years ago. So that I was always into boxing, especially I was a big boy, so I used to, take karate, boxing, but I never really got into the boxing. I got into more in martial arts, and when I went into the military and still with the martial arts, and
thanks for serving. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for serving. So all right, so now you guys come together. You've got the youngin and the you're not much older than 33. I know that, Ray.
I'm 56 years old.
Oh, see, you look so good. I wasn't fishing for your age, but I like it. But so why is it important to bring it to Orlando? Why not Miami? Why not, I don't know, another city, a bigger city? Orlando's amazing, don't get me wrong. This is kind of a rhetorical question for me, but I'm fascinated. Why bring it to Orlando specifically? And either one of you can answer. What about Orlando?
Well, the thing about it, I did a show earlier this year in Orlando. We did it in Castleberry, Florida. It was a great turnout, a great fight.
You did? I did not know that.
The thing about Orlando, I like Orlando. To me, it's like a third home. And the reason why I decided to come to Orlando, because Miami, they get a lot of the big sporting events, and it's the nightlife. And Orlando is more like a family-oriented city.
Agreed.
So in the sport of boxing is a sport that caters to all ages, all races, all genders. And by it being a family-oriented sport, I decided to come to Orlando, which I was greeted with nice, genuine people. It's a good environment.
We were nice?
Yeah, I like Orlando. That's why I'm coming back twice in 1 year.
I'm kidding. I love Orlando.
Yeah, Orlando is nice. So like I said, for me, it was a comfort zone.
Sure.
So when I came across Mr. Ray, I met him through a good friend, like he said, Tavares Cloud, IBF light heavyweight champion. I decided, to come back and do another show.
So what does it take to put on a show? Because that's ultimately what we'll talk about, is what your goals are. But what does it take to put on a show? It seems to me like it would be easy, but what do I know about promoting boxing?
I think one of the most important things is sponsorship. If you get a great sponsor who could easily get the exposure, in reference to the community, and that will help out a whole lot. And it helps out the community also because it brings an economic impact in the area.
To talk about the economic impact, is it just jobs that would be around the event, or do you guys go out into the community and try to engage our youth into the event? How do you make the impact on the economy?
Well, the impact is made by the economy by bringing people who firmly wouldn't come to Central Florida, come from Daytona Beach, come from Miami, because depending on the type of fight you put together, you're going to have people that are not in the area who are coming into the area. And that brings an economic impact because they're spending money. And they're spending money, they're dealing with the local community merchants in the community. The Amway, we have a perfect Amway arena that is beautiful. I mean,
agreed.
Now it's grown even more. We have, condominiums, apartments downtown. It's the nightlife here downtown has changed dramatically.
It really has. All right, so what's your vision then for you want to bring a boxing event. And what is a boxing event? You're going to have to dumb it down for me, because I've seen paid fights that people pay a lot of money for, and I've witnessed fights that nobody should pay any money for. What does that entail? It obviously there's so much involved around that. The sponsors alone getting involved, but what does an event look like? Is it two fighters? That's it, or do you have multiple fights that go on during
a boxing fight consists of several bouts, which could be, you have two guys that's fighting or either two girls that's fighting. Typically, what I do on my shows, I have at least 8 fights instead of just 1 or 2.
So all right, so 8 fights is not 8 rounds. That's 8 different people, 8 sets of people fighting.
8
correct?
Sets of people fighting.
Okay.
And in boxing, you have 4 rounds, 6 rounds, 8, 10, and 12. So it all depends. You break it all down mathematically. But I try to put on good competitive fights to where the show will last no longer than 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, so I try to squeeze them in there and get them in and get them out.
So how do you determine who can be part of the show? I know there's a lot of people out there who are boxers or box. There's a whole couple of gyms dedicated to that.
Millions of fighters.
So how is it that you find the fighters, and how do you narrow that down?
Well, the thing about it, I try to, when I'm doing a fight in Orlando, I try to pick out the home team. I'm trying to get local fighters that have a following because it makes business sense to do something here in the home and bring the home crowd. And the thing about it, when I'm out scouting and looking for talent, it's just certain fighters have this certain type of gift. It's just like what you do in your field when it comes to the interviews and the podcast and stuff like that. This is what you do, and you can tell like, well, this guy may not have this good experience, or she may have this. So it's a natural feeling. It's a good thing to where I say, well, he got it.
You've got the feeling about it.
You got to get that feeling.
So do a lot of people apply? Do they go, oh my God, we want to be part of it, or do you reach out to the people, or is it both?
It depends. Because like when you go to the boxing gyms around Orlando, for example, you have tons of fighters in there training. Everybody's dream is to become a world champion and turn pro. And it's like some people may have the skills, they may not. So it just all depends on the way that they was trained, the way that they carry themselves. And a lot of times when I'm scouting a fighter, like I go to sparring sessions. Sparring sessions to where they have on headgears and a mouthpiece, and they competing. And you can learn a lot about a fighter the way he competes in the ring.
It just is so painful. My head hurts thinking about it. So but you were mentioning, so in the fight that you want to bring to Orlando, of the 8 different sets of fighters, are there women in there too?
Yes. We just did a fight 3 weeks ago in Memphis, Tennessee. I did a co-promotions with Affiliation Management and Mayweather Promotions fighter, 5-time female world champion Ava Knight. And she actually won the 6th world title fight on my show.
Nobody better mouth off to Ava.
Yeah,
like
Ava,
seriously.
No, 6-time world champion.
I'm already scared.
Yeah,
seems. But I love the fact that you're willing to do both, because women's boxing has kind of become more mainstream lately. Like in the past couple of years than I've ever seen it. It seems like there's a lot. There's that one, and I can't think of her name right now because I'm terrible at names.
Layla Ali.
Yes, no, Layla. Definitely, I know her. But there's also this. You said beast, so beast of a woman. Like she's a white woman, and she is. I can't think of her name.
She was
somebody
boxing
else.
or UFC?
I don't know.
Probably UFC.
What does that mean? All right. So anyway, yes, it might be MMA, which is a whole nother world.
Sport. It's a comeback sport, but it's not just boxing.
That's a crazy world. I can barely watch the MMA. Boxing, I think, is fascinating because there's really a science and an art to it. There's so much practice that goes into it. There's real skills, and not that there isn't. No MMA people give me a hard time, but I just feel like that you are practicing on that, and there are really certain techniques that you have to learn, and you're good at them. Whether you've got a good right or right hook. No, I'm terrible at this.
Jab,
there we go. You're going to use all the right language. Thank you.
Yeah,
listen, I don't know. I'm terrible, but I do like to watch for a little bit.
Okay, a little bit. You got to watch the whole show.
I know. Here's what happens. I feel bad for the underdog or the guy that goes down on the first punch.
Well, anybody can go down. You can have a world champion that go down.
I would dive down if I was in that ring.
Why?
Rink.
I mean, you don't want that embarrassment.
No,
in front of your family, friends.
You'll be surprised that there are a lot of boxers in Central Florida live here that are very low key. I mean, it's funny because we met Travis Cloud. He was walking on the sidewalk, and I said to him, "You look like Mr. Cloud." He goes, "I am Mr. Cloud," and that's how I met him.
How funny is that?
So you'd be surprised when you see people walking in Central Florida in the streets and not even know they are celebrities.
I love it.
You know, so it's.
I love that you're bringing something different.
Yeah.
Right? Because when is the last? Have we had a major boxing event in Orlando?
I think the last one we had was in Miguel Cotto at the Amway Arena.
Okay, so we did have one at the arena. How long ago was that?
I think about a year and a half ago.
Okay. And this one you're going to bring, though, is going to be different. This is bigger. Well, feels like it's bigger. There's more people.
It's going to be an exciting card. It's like fighting upcoming fighters from Orlando and Central Florida area. So we bring something that'll be different and unique to where everybody, be entertained.
I love the because it is entertaining, but you also, I mean, there's just this raw energy that goes on.
Yeah, live entertainment, live fighting.
Yeah, I love that. All right, so how do you handle? I've got some basic boxing questions,
Okay.
right? So we've all watched Rocky. That's where I know most of my knowledge about anything that's boxing, right? So when do they really have the water that goes in the mouth? Somebody's got to wash their mouth out for them. I mean, it just seems like when they get back to their corner, man, there are a lot of people over there making sure that they're good to go, they're taken care of, and they're ready to go back out. But they don't have much time. How do you guys train to get them where they need to be for the next round?
Well, the thing about it is start off in amateurs. When you start off as a kid, you learn those basic steps, and you learn the time frame of when you sit down, you have a minute to rest, get water, check your face and body to make sure that you're good to go for the next round. So it's something that you learn in beginning stages, and once you exceed that, then it's time to go pro. So it all depends on the fighter, their trainer, and their group that they have that's working with them before we can decide to turn pro. Now, so when you turn pro, you're with the big dogs.
Yeah, well, once you go out, so I'm also fascinated when you're going to see somebody spar and you're basically scouting for people who would participate in the event. When you're scouting for them and you're watching them spar, what are you looking for? Are you looking for people who can hang on the longest, or the people that have the best technique, or what is it that you're looking for?
I mean, you're looking for everything. The people that have good wind, good technique, they got good skills, good defensive and offensive skills, and guys that can overall, just be a good persuasive fighter. Not only just that, but you want to get somebody that you can potentially build to be a world champion, because it's all about, selling tickets and getting the crowd and the communities involved. You don't want to just get any fighter because he fights, but he's not a great fighter or a good fighter, because there's a lot of time and money and investment spent in the sport of boxing. Like boxing is a different animal compared to any other sports on earth. It's very, 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 very difficult. But once it's done right and you have the right people that's in the right position, then everything goes smooth.
All right, so what's the next step for you guys to get somebody here, or to get your event here? Because obviously you want to bring it to the Amway, right? Sorry, I've got to get back to this. I want to make sure people are watching. What is the next step? We need sponsors, right? You want a sponsor. You want a title sponsor. Talk about what that looks like.
Well, the title sponsor will get publicity from the event. In other words, we have a ring mat. We would like to put our main sponsor on the main ring mat, and also the bumpers in the corners. The girls come out with the flashcards. Those are all kinds of stuff that the sponsorship will bring exposure to whatever business they're running. I try to stick around with the local merchants, because those are the ones we want really to be the sponsors.
Sure.
Because we want to keep the impact in the community, not take it out of the community.
Why is that important?
I think it brings diversity among us in reference to being a merchant in our community. I think a lot of it, a lot of us can't afford sponsorships in reference like Subways or other ones that are out there. We have big companies out here that can't sponsor us, but that we try to reach out to them and talk to them and give them as much ability they can to get the exposure. And every community has a major anchor merchant.
Sure. All right, so a question for both of you. What is it about boxing that you're passionate about? What is it that you love? It's not all about the promotion or the money. I want people to know why are you passionate about? What is it about boxing that intrigues you, that you love to watch, that you are obviously making it part of your career and what you want to do? What is it about it?
I love the people.
You love the people.
I love dealing with the fighters and their families and stuff like that. Because like I said, I'm a people person, so I like to always be interacting with people, doing business, helping people out, teaching them things that they usually want to know. So like for me, it's boxing is a personal love that I like. Because my first love is music, But I decided to get into boxing, like I said, because I like to help people out, and not only just that, everybody don't listen to rap or hip hop or R&B.
Right.
But one thing about boxing, you have a lot of people that love boxing. A lot of people.
You really do.
It touches different people. You know, it's just a live entertainment.
You like
sport.
the people.
Yeah, I love people.
All right, what about you, Ray?
I've been in an Orlando community for a little bit over 30 years. I want to give back to my community. I want to make sure that whoever these local fighters can give back to the community, make sure that they contribute to our youth, because that is our future.
Agreed.
And if we don't take care of that, then we're lost.
What do you guys say to anybody who, because you'll have detractors, that I'm not on the show because the audience here is super supportive, but people say, well, gosh, boxing's so violent. Why would you bring that into, let's say, the inner cities, or bring it into the communities? But it's more than that. That's not really what the sport's about. It's not about being violent. I'll let you guys explain.
I mean, violent in what way?
Well, I mean, people will be
It's
like,
boxing.
why would we want our kids to have a sport that's people beat each other up over?
Well, it's not violent, it's just teaching them self-discipline. I mean, if that's the case, you look at football. They
Right.
tackle, hit you from the back, hit you from the front. That's violent.
Listen.
You get hurt quicker in football than you will boxing.
I agree.
And the thing about boxing, when kids start out as amateur, they have on headgear.
Right.
So they learning to adapt to the punches and to the body shots. So it's really not a violent sport. Only time I would think it's violent when you have a kid in a ring that's a professional fighter, and he may get cut by a punch, and his mom, oh my God, my baby, he's getting beat up. This is a violent sport.
That's on any sport, man.
A lot of women don't like that. My son, he just bleeding. Referee stopped the fight. We can't stop the fight like that. It come with the territory, but you know, it just everybody have their own opinion about it.
I agree with you. I think that, and Ray, I'll just step in and then you can answer.
I think it's more of stamina for the individual child and self-confidence to the child.
Yes.
If you give a child self-confidence about himself, he'll become a different person.
I agree.
So, I mean, as a kid, myself, I was scared to get hit until I played football in high school.
Yeah.
And when I got hit the first time, there was no stopping me. I wanted to hit everybody. So it's just the
It
confidence.
builds up a confidence, right? It's like any sport. That was such a good point that you said, Lank. I think that people look at boxing and they think because it's this individual sport, one-on-one, and you're punching each other, you're hitting each other. That's no different than getting tackled on the football field 40 times over. It's still, but that's part of sports. You get injured on any sport you play.
True.
Basketball, man, I've seen some of those guys go down hard.
They throw real punches too.
And they throw real punches too. So I think, I just wanted to clear that up because I think there's a stereotype sometimes that boxing's violent, and I would agree 100% with both of you. It's not violent. It's no more dangerous or injurious than any other sport is. But I love the fact that it's individual. You're really working with your coach, but you are working. It's you. Everything's up to you as that individual.
Yeah, nobody can save you.
Nobody can save you.
A or B side.
That's how it is. All right, so we're going to share all of Lank the King's information and all of Ray Ramos's information once we post the show and we share everything. We'll give you their websites and how to reach out to them and how to get involved. If you want to be a sponsor for their upcoming event, reach out to them. There's a lot of opportunity here, and I think we do have a really cool, pretty big boxing community, people who love this sport here in Orlando. We just haven't had a ton of opportunity to get involved in that. So, all right, any parting words of wisdom, anything that you want to share with the audience before we head out? And Lank, you can go, and then we'll finish with Ray.
I would tell people if there's anything that you want to do, you can do it. Put your mind to it. Trust and believe in God. Trust and believe in yourself. Work hard, stay focused, stay out of trouble, and you can do just as much as the next person can. I'm a living witness of it. I'm 33 years old, never been to jail, never been a juvenile. I don't smoke, I don't drink, no tattoos, no piercings. So coming from that background of me being 33, it's just my testimony of letting young kids know that, you know, don't worry about what people say. They may call you lame and corny, but do what's best for you. And at the end of the day, you'll be happy and you'll be excited about living with your own good results.
Good answer. All right, Ray, you wrap it up.
I say I live with the word, do what your heart tells you to do, and what your gut tells you to do. And once you do that, it's open up to you. It's an avenue open to you.
Amen. All right, guys, you've been a joy. Thanks for coming on. Lank the King, Ray Ramos.
Sure.
We're going to talk more. We're going to share all the boxing links when we're finished. Thank you guys for tuning in. We had a lot of comments. They'll go back through and they'll answer. I'll answer too. But definitely reach out to them if you have any interest in sponsoring, want to get involved, have a child that might want to get involved. I mean, they're going to know, they're going to be the resource. So allow them to be the resource for you. All right. Thanks, guys. All right.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.